Okay, welcome to Lab 11 of my vSphere 6 material. We're going to be installing our first virtual machine inside of our clustered VMs. So, let's do a few preliminary items first. Let's make sure that we finish Lab 10, and let's make some new folders. So I'm going to go to Computer, I'm going to go to NFS, and under ISOs, I'm going to make a new folder called, oh, my caps lock is on, Windows 7 x86, and I'm going to drag and drop a Windows 7 disk inside. So here we have our Windows 7 Enterprise disk that we're going to be working with. So once we have that, let's get back into vCenter. And in vCenter, we actually want to be looking at VMs and templates. So we're going to create a few new folders. So we can do it that way, or we can actually right-click and we can select the different types of folders. We actually want a new VM and template folder. We're going to call one labs. And we're going to call one server. So a common thing is, well, what are the new folders? Like, what are the differences? Basically, where they're going to populate the new folder. So if we did just a new network folder and we're creating VMs and templates, we won't see these folders. So choosing the appropriate folder type is kind of critical here. All right, so now let's go ahead and go to our hosts and clusters. We're going to be creating a new VM. Oh, you know what? Let's just go back. Let's go home, host and clusters. You'll notice it's the same tabs up here. I'm going to navigate to the Getting Started page. Just because I like to be able to create my virtual machines from here, we're going to create our virtual machine. We're going to be selecting Create a New Virtual Machine. Select Next. Enter the name and location. We're going to be calling this one E732C. We're going to be selecting the appropriate folder. If you did not create the folders correctly in the previous portion, you will not see the folders here. We're going to be having it sitting on ESXi1. We're going to select Next. Here's the important part. If we had a VM storage policy, we could actually do it here. We are also going to select where it's going to be stored at. For us, we're going to be selecting iSCSI1 and clicking Next. We're going to choose the appropriate version for compatibility. We're going to be doing ESXi6 and later. Select Next. We're going to be doing Windows, and we're going to be doing Windows 7 32-bit. Select Next. So the important part here, at least for me, is I'm going to increase the memory to 2 gigs. And I'm going to change the hard drive space to 16 gigs. I'm also going to go down to new CD/DVD drive. I'm going to mount a data ISO file, NFS, ISOs, Windows 7, and I will select my appropriate Windows 7 ISO. I will have it connect underneath my new virtual hard disk. I'll expand it out. I want to select thin provisioning and make sure to set to 16 gigs. I will remove the floppy drive. Under video card specifications, I want to enable 3D support. If you don't enable 3D support, Windows Aero will not work, so that's kind of important. And that should be it. Let's go and click on Next and Finish. And it should create that virtual machine. And once you actually see it, let's go ahead and power it on. And now how do we view it? That's always a good part. How do we actually view it? If you go to Action, go to Open Console. And it will do its initial installation. It's not always the fastest, so do be careful. So instead of having me, oh, never mind, it's going a little quicker than I was expecting. Your key or your mouse may not work in this, which that is okay. Luckily, you should be skilled with the keyboard so that you can do all of this via just the keyboard. And we actually want to do a custom installation. And sit back and relax while it goes through this process. Okay, so installation did not take too long, but you'll notice still no mouse. So go and call our PC student, and the computer name is going to be E732C. We're not going to be doing a password. We're turning off updates, verify date and time. All right, we're a home network or work network, doesn't really matter for our environment. And one of the first things we want to do once this loads is install VMware tools so that we can get our mouse back. It will prepare our desktop. This process is going to be a tad bit slow. Keep in mind, we have only one virtual processor for this VM. So how do we install VMware tools? Well, I'm actually going to go back to the web client. I'm going to go to the Summary tab. And I'm going to click on Install VMware Tools. So once you click on Install Tools, go ahead and mount the ISO and then navigate back to our VM. It may take a second to pop up, but it will pop up. I think I actually unmounted it, so if it doesn't pop up after a little bit of time, like 40 seconds, unmount it and remount it just by clicking install, and it should pop up. Again, no mouse just yet, so use the keyboard, completely install VMware tools, and we should be good from there. This always gets kind of interesting because we are nested our virtualization. So things like Alt and Tab gets a little bit more complex with this environment. Oh, it did not like that at all. Be careful what buttons you hit, because I accidentally just closed mine. I wanted to actually open it, but instead I closed it all. Summary. Let's go back to Launcher Console. And it may take a second to pop up. If it doesn't pop up immediately, is instead of clicking Launch Remote Console, go ahead and click on the image. Sadly, because no mouse, some of this gets really hard. So if you still don't have your mouse in this environment, we're going to have to patiently go through and install VMware tools. It is a pain in the butt sometimes, but with this, you just have to be patient. If you're not nesting virtual machines, you should not have this problem. But in our environment, we are virtualizing virtual machines, so bugs do happen like that. So a little midbit is finish. It does not like this at all. I want to go ahead and restart my virtual machine so I can have mouse control. If you want a little bit better responsive within your console, I would recommend downloading the remote console. By clicking on it, it takes you right to VMware's website. We're going to download the remote console. You do have to have an account to do that, but one of the first things that we did in class was actually set up our account. You'll notice once it restarts, VMware is actually more responsive. You can actually move your mouse in it. And that's actually the end of this lab. Oh, I take that back. Let's make sure updates are turned off. That's an important part for this because we don't want to be installing updates. We don't want it to have it hang while trying to install updates. So go ahead and power off your machine. And that's the end of Lab 11. Thank you.